Hello everybody, and welcome once again to our campfire on the Muddy. Tonight we are actually down on the Muddy Crossing and Campground on the original Pioneer Trail. We're going to show you with you some of the sights and some of the history that exists here. And Wendy's going to go over that with you in a few minutes, and we'll show you some of these things. We had planned this weekend, we had all of our kids and all of our grandkids home, and we were going to come down here and have a big family fire, sing around and have you join us for a real family campfire. But things don't always go as planned. We ended up with sick kids, and that went through all of them, and some of them went home. So we ended up with two of our grandkids, Kenzie here from North Dakota, she's down for a couple weeks with her mom, and Raisha here from Cokeville. So they're with us. I wish the rest could have been with us or not. With us, but they're not.
I'm not far away.
You live far away?
I'm up the hill.
Okay, I believe you. I know. And then Hiram's with us too, and he's kind of there in the background, and his wife Melanie is filming for us tonight. So, like I say, once again, glad to have you with us. It's a beautiful night here, and let Wendy go ahead and start sharing some of the history here.
Okay, like we talked about last week, my great-great-grandparents came to Salt Lake, and then they came back to this area. Well, this is the exact area where they came to, and they came back here to run the stage stop, which Grandma would have fed everybody food and stuff, and Grandpa would have taken care of the horses and put them in the barn and whatnot. And so that's what they came back to this area for. This area has a lot of history in it. If you look right over here, you can see where that road is built up. That was the very first transcontinental railroad. And we will talk more about the railroad when we visit down at Piedmont in a few weeks. Up in the trees there, some eagles that are joining us tonight too. But some of these, we have some foundations here of the Pony Express that are still left. There's not a whole lot left, but I do have a picture of what it used to look like when it was here and running. Okay, and I have one story for you. Moses Byrne, who was my married to my grandmother's sister, so he would be a great-great uncle. He lived here before Grandma and Grandpa came, and they had their little 2-year-old son playing out in the yard, and he was stolen by Sioux Indians. And by the time they found out about it, they figured that it was too late to even find him. So 2 years later, when he was 4 years old, Chief Washakie, who was from the Shoshone tribe, he brought them back their little boy, and he had these little moccasins on his feet when they returned him. My grandparents were good friends with Chief Washakie, and there's a few more stories we'll share later about that. Also, this was the first telegraph line went through here. Just about a mile here is the Lincoln Highway. It was the very first highway that came through America. So there's a lot of history right here. And when they came to this area, it was there was lots of good water and bunch grass, good feed for the animals, and so it was a fun place for them to come to, and they relaxed when they got here. The Pony Express came through here, and when we take the trek across here, we offer a few extras, and one of the extras is the Pony Express. And throughout our 10 years of doing the treks, we started out with my son and my nephew, and they would run the mail in, which the parents would send secretly to the kids, and they would run them in on horses and drop them off.
Look at that eagle fly!
And we had a lot of fun experiences with that. I had a dad want my son's phone number once, and the girls were always in love with them and wanting them to come to the dances and everything like that. But anyway, it was fun. It was fun for them. And I have brought my Pony Express rider tonight. My son is here. He's a bit older and married, and and happy, but he's going to share a little bit about what it felt like to do that Pony Express, and then share a story with you.
It was pretty fun to do the Pony Express. The main thing I think that Zach and I liked as young boys was how excited all the girls got when we rode in on horses. But we had a lot of cool experiences also when doing that. The one night we had a young lady that her dad had passed away about 4 days before she came on the trek. But before he had passed away, he was able to write her the letter, what she was going to read on the trek. So we had that letter, and the leaders had gave it to us and told us she'd still come, and we had this letter for her, and that we needed to make sure it got there safe. And that night it was just pouring rain like crazy, and so we made sure we had it secure. We like double zip-locked everything, put them in our saddlebags. We had to ride quite a bit farther because we couldn't get as close to the campsite. So when we rode, my cousin and I, we had to ride a couple miles through the hills over to the campsite. And right before we got to the campsite, my cousin Zach, we came down into this draw, and there was this huge mud pit. And I heard he took a left fast enough, and he didn't, and wrecked into it and went over the top of his horse into the mud, and the saddle went into the mud, and we were thankful that we had everything in those Ziploc bags. So we delivered the mail, not knowing which lady or young woman that letter was going to, and we rode back to the truck. And when we got back to the truck, we debated amongst ourselves because they were doing a dance that night, a square dance, and we didn't really want to go because we were wet and cold. But as we drove back to the house, we debated and we decided that we better go. So we went into the dance, and we usually just kind of fill in wherever somebody needed another partner. And so we got there, and there was two young ladies that were dancing with each other. So my mom went and grabbed them and had one of them dance with me and one of them dance with Zach. And the young lady that danced with Zach had a wonderful time and was smiling and happy. And after it was over, one of the leaders came up to him and said that that was the young lady who lost his dad, and that was the first time that they had seen her smile since she had lost him. And it was very special to share that moment with her and be able to bring a smile to her face in a very hard time, and deliver a letter that will be very dear to her heart, I'm sure. So a lot of cool experiences. That was one that was very special to us.
I always felt that it was a great honor to be able to, I had no idea who that girl was, but to walk out there into 300 people and find her. Heavenly Father knows who needs what when they come out here on this trail. And I was guided to her even though I didn't know, and was able to share that experience with them. And so that was pretty awesome to be there and experience that. And so anyway, a little more of the history. The California Trail also came through here, and so there was about 250,000 people that came through with the gold mine, for the gold rush. And between 60 and 80,000 of the pioneers came through, and many more immigrants and different things that came through this area. So we feel very honored to have this history and the opportunity to share a bit of that with you tonight. So we're going to walk over here now and show you some pioneer graves. Okay, here we are up at some of the graves. This is one of the best ones out here. You can tell that it's all lined in rock, and somebody was definitely buried here. I have a few names of people that were buried here. We have a couple headstones that she's going to show you while I'm talking. But some of the names, just in case you're curious if they might be in your family. We have an Elizabeth Argyle. We have an Elizabeth Bailey Oliver. We have Anna Jensen Hansdaughter. We have a Peter Anderson Felsted. And we found out since this is his headstone here, but there was a 2-year-old buried in with him. And his name was Lauritz Larson. And then we have Anna Hansen, Catherine Jones Bennett, and Ann Barnett. And so the other one will walk over here. This one here was kind of fun. I had a couple from Wales that came over, and we walked up and down the creek. They knew their grandmother was buried here, and they kind of felt good about this rock, and this is kind of where we ended up putting their marker. I had one lady come through once at the very beginning of the trek, and she said, my grandmother's buried out here somewhere on the trail, but we never have found out where she was at. And when she came to this point, she just knelt down and started crying. And this was her grandmother, her great-grandmother's grave that she had found, or a marker anyway. I had one little girl that was walking through the creek, and she found a little rock that said grandma on it, that evidently somebody else had dropped or something, but she found it, and this was her great-great-great-grandmother. And she put that little rock down here on this, and it was here for years, but I don't see it here tonight. But just some neat experiences. And I had one young man come up to me once, and he said, my grandfather was buried up on the Muddy. Is this where it was? And I said, well, I will have to look at your journal entry and find out. And so he showed me his journal entry, and it said that it was 100 miles out of Salt Lake on the Muddy Creek. And it's almost exactly 100 miles from here to Salt Lake. So I said, yes, that would be your grandfather. This would be where he was buried. And as I read through that, it said, we laid rocks on his grave so that when we came back through, we would be able to find it. So it may be that one there, that real natural one that we found that young man had seen. So we do a lot of morning sides right here, our campground. If you want to zoom over that way a little bit, our campground's over that way, and then they come through here in the morning, and so sometimes we do morning sides when here at the graves. So we'll go ahead and walk over here to our campfire and share a few more stories and songs with you. The area right here is exactly where the pioneers camped when they came through. This is actually a Eagle Scout project that we had a young man do for us. And the exact date when Brigham Young with the first group came through was July 8th, 1847. So that's kind of fun. It'd be hard to do it live.
What? Ready to sing some songs?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
What are we gonna sing?
Lock, lock,
No. What are we gonna sing?
lock, lock,
Should have been a what?
lock, lock.
Oh.
Should have been a lock.
All the grandkids were gonna sing "Should Have Been a Cowboy" with me down here, and we recorded it at home before they left. But Raisha and Kenzie and Wendy and Hiram and Mel are gonna sing it with us here. We're gonna sing "Should Have Been a Cowboy." I bet you never heard old Marshall Dillon say, Miss Kitty, have you ever thought of running away? Settling down, would you marry me? If I asked you twice and begged you pretty please, she'd have said yes in a New York minute. They never tied the knot. Heart wasn't in it, he just stole the place as he rode away. He never hung his hat up at his grave. Should have been a cowboy. Should have learned to rock and ride. Wearing my 6 shoes, riding my pony on a cattle drive. just like Gene and Roy, singing those campfire songs. Whoa, I should have been a cowboy. Might have had a sidekick with a funny name, running wild through the hills, chasing Jesse James, ending up on the brink of danger, riding shotgun with the Texas Rangers. Go west, young man, haven't you been told California's full of horses, cattle and gold, sleeping out all night beneath the desert stars, dreaming my high and a prayer in my home. Should have been a cowboy, should have learned to roll the ride, wearing my six-shooter, riding my pony on a cattle drive, stealing a young girl's horse, just like Gene and Roy, singing those campfire songs. Oh, I should have been a cowboy, should have been a cowboy. Yeah, you should have been a cowboy.
I felt a stick in there.
Did you want to tell another story?
I can.
Okay, Wendy's going to give us another story, then we'll do another song, and then she can.
This is actual out of journal entry. This was written by a man who came through with the with the rescue company. Sorry, and he was here. They had the saints at this time, and they were here out the campground. And his name was he was writing it to Brother Horace K. Whitney. As some of our company start for the city tomorrow morning, I improve the opportunity of writing you a few scrawls. I am sitting not on a stile Mary, which was a type of desk, but on a sack of oats with paper on my knee, by the side of a blazing campfire, surrounded by some 800 persons. One old lady lay dead within 20 feet of me. Babies were crying, some singing, some praying, etc. But among all this, I feel to rejoice, for the hand of the Lord has been continually with us. Almost every day angry storms arise, very threatening, and judging from their appearance, one would think that we should be unable to withstand the tempest. But the prayers of the holy men of God are heard. The clouds are divided to the right and left, letting the saints pass through safely. The suffering of this camp from frozen feet and other various causes I will not attempt to describe, just to say bad, bad, bad.
Don't say bad. No.
Pushing home were easy, like the movie said it was. I don't remember dance hall girls, no hotel rooms for us. You worked hot and tired and nasty, you rode your pony's head too low. All the nights you couldn't sleep, it was too dang cold, and you sang Strawberry Road and Joe. Like the tide hit the river and the rain began to fall. Water rising so damn fast, we thought it'd drown us all. We lost a lot of steers that day, 4 or 5 to max. But when the boys rode into camp, we knew that's what counts. And we sang Bring-Hi-Yi-Yi and Amazing Grace. Or the time they broke behind us
tell everybody what you think about the pioneers?
I don't know. Yeah, I do know. Did I see that? I don't. Everything.
Okay, what do you want to tell us about them?
I don't know. I need some help.
You need some help?
Yeah.
Do you like coming out when Grandma's here with all the pioneers?
Yeah.
You like to see them?
Where's the pioneers?
Where's the pioneers, she says. They couldn't come this year because of that sickness. So that's why we're doing it this week, okay?
But I'm gonna need help, okay?
Hmm?
I'm gonna need help. Okay.
Do you know?
But I'm gonna need help. Okay?
Do you like coming to the ranch?
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of when you helped with the truck?
Yeah. I remember one time me and my cousin, we sat in the back of the pilot and we gave water and like some trail mix and stuff to the people who were passing through. That's pretty much all I remember. And like hauling the
Behind carts.
yeah.
What did
Yeah,
you
our grandkids get to go with us sometimes with Wendy when she's taking water to them and hauling hand carts and stuff. And so she asked Raisha tonight if she wanted to come down here to the Pioneers,
Grandpa, I can do it.
and she was excited to come, but I thought she was going to see some Pioneers. She's got something she wants to say, though.
Okay.
I love unicorns.
She loves unicorns.
Oh. Do you love the Pioneers and the dresses?
Dresses and unicorns.
Dresses and unicorns.
You want to tell them another story?
Unicorn
You got another
dresses.
song?
We're looking.
I do.
Let me tell one while you're looking at those.
Yeah.
One time I had one of the ladies that worked on with the food committee. She had lost her husband, and he had been here with them 4 years prior, and so everybody was kind of missing him in the group. But she went out for a walk one night, and she said, I think his name was Eric. She said, "Eric, please, I've got to know if you're all right." And before he passed away, he would always pick her beautiful wildflowers and bring to her. And as she was pleading this night, she looked down, and there was a whole bouquet of wildflowers, and they were all white, and all of the petals were shaped like a heart. And she just fell on her knees and
I'm gonna go to that.
thanked him and for letting her know that he was there and that he loved her and cared about her.
Should you want the order I get, or?
Sure.
Grandma, I love it.
We'll do one more song, and then Wendy's got a poem she's going to close up with us for us tonight.
But you got okay?
The older I get, the more I think you only get a minute. Better live while you're in it. It's gone and quick. And the older I get, the truer it is. It's the people you love, not the money and the stuff that makes you rich. If they found $1,000, I wouldn't drink it. That's the truth. Funny how it feels. I'm just getting to my best years yet. The older I get, fewer friends I have. But you don't need to give, and just not give a damn. And if they found a fountain of youth, I wouldn't drink it dry. That's the truth. Funny how it feels, I'm just getting to my best years yet. The older I get. I don't mind all the lines from all the time, laugh and cry, souvenirs and little signs of the life I've lived. The older I get, the longer I pray. I don't know why, I guess I got more to say. And the older I get, the more thankful I feel for the life I've had and the life I'm living still.
Okay, we'd like to thank everybody, our family, for being here, the ones that could, to help us out. We appreciate it. And next week we're going to kind of honor fathers, and we'll just do it out of our yard again. But so join us next week for that. And Raisha needs to tell you something, I guess. Go ahead.
I love unicorns and dancers.
Okay, I'll just close with a poem that I wrote. The year of the sesquicentennial, we had a big celebration down here at the Muddy Crossing.
I love unicorns and dresses.
And it's called To My Dearest Children. Many years ago, we came across the plains. Some of us walked and some on wagon trains. There were many hardships in Missouri where we started. Those mobs of men were mean and so cruel-hearted. They gave us no choice. We had to leave that land and go on with nothing but trust in the Lord's hand. Some of us buried children, husbands, and friends. At those times, it seemed our journey would never end. We covered their graves with rocks when we could just so. But sometimes we left our loved ones in nothing but the snow. We moved on only because of faith in His Son, and knowing we'd meet them again when our life was done. There were times when we didn't know what we'd eat, and we tried just about everything, from buffalo to the leather shoes on our feet. Sometimes it was so bitter cold with snow all over the ground, and other times the hot sun was turning everything brown. But times on the trail weren't always that bad. When we would dance at night, what a good time we had. And the miraculous priesthood blessings helping to keep us alive, the power of God was with us, and on this we did rely. Most of us made it to the valley with our prophet Brigham Young. Oh, the joy that filled our bosom as I remember the songs we sung. Oh, my children, can you feel the love of my spirit? If you listen close, you might even hear it. For you're the reason that we came so faithfully, so you'd have freedom to raise your family. Times are tough for you, and we watch you now and then, trying to do what's right in this world of sin. Yes, we buried our children along the way, but is that pain so different than watching a child stray into paths of wickedness and trials of sin? Oh, when will their hearts turn to the Lord again? I say to you, be a pioneer, endure to the end, making the trail better for your family and friends. And maybe 100 years from now, your descendants sitting under a tree will say, wow, how did they do it? I can't believe they made it through these trials of life that we all have to do. You know I have a testimony, but I leave this with you still. God lives, and He loves us, and He forever will. Though you're honoring us, we'd like to honor you too, and all the wonderful things that each of you do. We're proud of you and the path that you've trod. May we all meet together soon with our ever-loving God. And we'd just like to tell you to keep your campfire burning, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, Grandma.